Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. Wow, what a great turnout. I'm honored to present to you some research that I have done over the last several years on the class of 2000, Section E. I've spent quite a few years working on this research, and I'm very pleased to present to you some specific examples, some general trends regarding the career patterns of the class of 2000. I hope you enjoy it. I also had the privilege, actually, of teaching this section, Section E, LEAD, during their first semester at Harvard Business School. Thank you.
Antonio was chosen for this study based on his brevity and clarity of class comments while at Harvard Business School. Antonio, please tell us a little about your career path in the last 5 years.
Thank you, Charlie. After graduating from Harvard Business School, I was confronted with several career choices. In order to better understand my options, I decided to run some numbers. My analysis yielded some very interesting results that can be summarized in 3 main points. Number 1, it's not what you say, but rather the way you say it. Number 2, numbers don't really matter, but people don't know that. Number 3, the more names you have, the more likely you are to succeed. As a result, I decided to change my name to Antonio Alejandro Jorge Alvarez Cano de Silva and became a professor at Harvard Business School, where I have been able to give very clear and concise takeaways ever since.
Thank you very much for your time, Antonio. Look out, Brian Silverman. Toyin, you've had a very interesting career path since leaving Harvard. Why don't you tell us all about it?
Well, after graduation, I went back to Nigeria. I worked at the World Bank for about 5 years. And I joined the Nigerian government as the Chief Economic Advisor. And that's pretty much what I've been doing. My biggie classes really did come handy. I've used a lot of the frameworks to learn about the countries, and I've actually employed David Moss as my finance minister. And the 3 main lessons I've learned. First thing, it's always best to default on your loans. Never bet against George Soros, and never ever negotiate with anyone. I think these are lessons that every HBS student has to take away.
Our next alum is Richard De Silva. Richard, I hear you've been very involved in writing since you left HBS. Please tell us about that a little bit. Based on the phenomenal success of the Profit Zone, I've decided to continue with my research in strategy, writing books called The Erogenous Zone, The Profit Area, and The Profit Region. I co-authored these books with Brian Silverman, but dumped him after he was denied tenure for stalking Professor Michael Porter. Boy, can't wait to read those books. Our next alum is Stefan Rainiak. Stefan, please tell us how your career has progressed once freed from the shackles of being an attorney.
Well, after graduation, I really wanted to see how I could apply my skills to really benefit society. So I decided to set up a consulting firm for lawyers so they could make a transition to a more socially useful and beneficial function.
Stefan, is there any way you could tell us about some of the advice you provide to these attorneys?
Well, I advise those attorneys to pursue deliberately emergent strategies to manage their careers. Based on what I learned in GM, I counsel these people to think about the boys, and whenever they have a problem, to think of analogies to the healthcare profession, which are very, very helpful. Of course, when all else fails, I give them a live demonstration on how to kill a rabbit.
And thank you very much, Stefan, and congratulations on the birth of your first child with Diana Barrett. Now on to Rafael Torres. Rafael, please tell us about your career in public speaking.
Well, it depends on, well, it always depends on
Thank you very much, Rafael. Once again, clear and concise as usual. Next, we have Jessica Kutesh. Jessica, you followed a non-traditional career path. Why don't you tell us a little about it?
Yes, Charlie, I did follow a very non-traditional career path. After HBS, I moved back to Wisconsin with Jeff and began to think about what I could do in the way of entrepreneurial ventures. I decided to open my own homemade sausage company, and in honor of Jeff, I named it Jeff's Sausage. Now, Jeff was doing so well with the homemade sausage aspect of the operations that he actually was named the head sausage stuffer. We experienced great growth in those early years. We were able to penetrate new fertile markets and really develop a very successful business. And I think now longer term I'm looking to expand into other markets like Packers paraphernalia and cheese products.
Thanks, Jess. You must really have your hands full with Jeff's sausage. Neil Zuckerman, I understand you've been involved in investment banking since we last left HBS. Can you tell me a little about your career?
Charlie, let me tell you, investment banking is not for the faint of heart. You gotta love the quantitative aspects, you gotta love markets, and you gotta love the hours. God, I love the hours. I get up at about 5 in the morning, I work out 3, about 6 as well, 7 or 12, go home about 2 a.m. I love the hours.
That sounds great, Neil. I mean, do you have time for relaxation or anything?
What is relaxation? Relaxation?
Okay, Neil, we'll see you in a padded room in 5 years, probably. Next, we have Antoine. Antoine, please tell us what you've been doing this last few years.
Well, I live in Des Moines right now, and I'm working at Caterpillar as an engineer.
That's a little surprising. I would have expected you to go back to France after graduation, back to your homeland.
France? Oh yeah, well, I'm actually not even French. I just use that to try to get the women at HBS. At Wellesley. Well, only at Wellesley.
Now, there are several members of the study whose progress we would like to report. First, Kurt Daniels. After failing as a lounge singer, Kurt went back to consulting, but spends his evenings and weekends in his basement with his used karaoke machine singing love songs to himself. Rod Harrell and Jordan Rubel. As many of you know, these two started a business together after graduation. Well, unfortunately, it was unsuccessful, and the two decided to go their separate ways. Rod auditioned for Saturday Night Live, impersonating Bill Clinton. He was not cast, so he started his own version of the show with Nikki Parekh on the local Cambridge cable station. Jordan went through a 12-step program to conquer his anger problem, and is now a kindergarten teacher. Stacey Childress and Jim Curry. They are currently running against each other for the position of Lieutenant Governor of the state of Texas. Stacey is running on a platform focused on better education, while Jim, with his only real asset being his wife Lori, is still trying to get Eat or Be Eaten chili declared the state dinner. This study also highlights how HBS has had a significant impact on the personal lives of the study participants. Tom Priest, Israel Gano, Bob Pierce, and Sean Whitty are still single. Each of their fiancés called off their wedding as rumors about their Saturday bus trip began to circulate. Candace, on the other hand, is still happily married, with a baby she always brings to Lee's class on the day the students are supposed to review him. Nick and Ann, enough said.
There was one member of the study who we lost track of along the way. Little was heard of Colin Roach after graduation. He literally seemed to drop off the face of the earth. Recently, however, we did find him.
Colin, is that you? Colin, I'm so glad I found you. Colin!
Oh. Wow. Whew. Colin, I haven't heard that name in a while. My street name is Mad Dog.
What happened to you after graduation? How did you get like this?
Oh, graduation. Well, after graduation, I had some time off, so I decided to rerun the numbers for all the cases. I was going through the Butler lumber case, and you wouldn't believe it, the business was doing really well. I don't know how we missed it during class. So anyway, I went to go talk to Mr. Butler, and I negotiated to buy the business in a highly leveraged transaction. Ian Reynolds provided most of the financing.
That sounds great.
Yeah, but things were going really well. You know, we were going public, the business was spreading out all across the country, but then Ian forced me out through some loopholes he created in the contract. and he took my share of the equity. I should have known never to trust Ian Reynolds.
Well, what happened to Lily? Wasn't she there to support you?
Well, he took her too. It was in the fine print of the contract.
Oh my God. So what did you do?
Well, I went to Randy Reed, tried calling him up to get a pep talk, and I couldn't get through. Something about my net worth not being high enough. And I tried calling Dave Gallo too, but he wouldn't give me any loans or anything. He said something about my credit risk being bad and not doing well enough in FRC. And then I worked as a busboy in Ken Masters' restaurant, but I got fired from there. He said I was annoying all the guests. So it was just Skid Row from there.
Well, couldn't you use any of your takeaways from HBS?
Well, that's just the thing. I didn't have any takeaways from HBS. I was too busy running the numbers to listen to any of the...
Thank you so much. And remember, whatever issues you face in your career, it'll